some down there.
Oh, it's just of like spaces. Yeah, 60%.
Just forgot to charge that before.
I just like very you people are yeah, I think it's potentially with this hustle around this. Again, I will have on this. I will be happy. Same as the guys.
Is that
Amanda's is moving into
when I come back from my.
no? Amanda's bought
See how that resolution
the
doesn't
building,
take up
but
staff time.
I heard that they're just trying to get somebody to move into the restaurant.
You guys got to
They
do
weren't going to
that.
move their restaurant there. They would like to they'd like to lease that space out. Yeah, that's what I'd heard.
Yeah, no, I met with Stuart.
How are you, Bill? Good.
Be strong, Janice. It's your one window.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Up those mitts.
The what?
It's cold now. Pick it up.
Yeah. Let's get a coffee. Let's get a coffee.
7:02, guys. Everybody's Spanish.
What's that?
Herding cats.
Go come. Let's get started.
Yes, they told me. Hold the expansion. Government did or? I also kind of want to get.
I don't really think that this motion is exactly no staff involvement. I mean, somebody has to do all of the PR. We can't just send out the notice and say, something to do plastics. I mean, I don't even know what a single use plastic is.
You taking any holidays this summer? Where you going? Whitefish?
Thank you.
Okay, Jesse. You okay? Can we start?
All right. Thanks, John.
Okay, folks, we got a little bit of a madhouse here today, so bear with us for a moment or two. Welcome, everybody. Thanks very much for coming out to our meeting. And I'd like to read the Aboriginal Acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that the land of which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Tanaha, the Silix, and the Sinaiks peoples, and is home to Métis and many diverse Aboriginal persons. We honour their connection to the land and rivers and respect the importance of the environment to our strength as a community. And I'd like to know if there's any late items.
Yes, there is.
Councillor Rockneberg?
Yeah. And I've shared it around, so.
Okay, thank you very much. And Sarah, we'll add that on at the end. Okay, so adoption of the minutes from the previous meetings of June the 10th, 2019. Public.
Adoption of the agenda with the late item.
Good idea. Adoption of the agenda with the addition of the late item. Okay, Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Page, all in favour? Carried, thanks. So the minutes from June the 10th, 2019, public hearing, June the 10th, 2019, special regular council meeting, including items closed to the public on June the 10th, 2019, special regular council meeting June 24th, and special regular council meeting, including items closed to the public, on June the 26th,
I'll move it.
2019. Moved by Councillor Morrison,
Item 5A through E.
Second.
seconded by Councillor Woodward. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favour? Carried. Thanks very much. Okay, recommendations from the committee as a whole. The Nelson District Coordinating Society request for funding. That's the first item up here, folks. The Nelson District Seniors Coordinating Society has requested that the City of Nelson provide $3,000 in funding in order to help the Nelson and District Seniors Coordinating Society make up for lack of funding from the BC Gaming Commission. And there is a background information there, and there is a recommendation from staff. If somebody wishes to move it, now is your chance, or an alternate to that. And the recommendation is that City of Nelson deny the funding request and refer the Nelson District Seniors Coordinating Society to direct the request to the next Columbia Basin Trust Community Initiatives Program cycle. Moved by Councillor Lochtenberg, second by Councillor Anderson. Any?
Give some additional information on this?
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so we did reach out to them and ask them a number of questions on their financials because they seem to be pretty late in the day to be in the situation they're in. So like some of that funding looked like it's, like the CBT, for example, you know, I'm sure they just didn't pull their funding.
Excuse me, can everybody hear okay? No, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, so we did reach out and ask them a number of questions on their, financial results and what happened to their traditional funding. We did not hear back from this at this stage. I guess also the thing that council needs to remember is that we have provided them that space rent-free for a number of years. So I think the City of Nelson is contributing to the organization on an ongoing basis, and certainly that's what we would consider council's contribution to this society, and hopefully they're successful as some of the others. As you know, council does not have a grant and aid program that the rural directors have. What we can do is, as you have in this case, provide that space to have this program.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thanks very much. Okay, the letter of support here, I think from the Community Health First Co-op has requested a letter of support from the City of Nelson with regards to the capital gaming grant application. The CFHC hopes that the grant will provide a portion of the funds needed to make repairs to the Nelson Area Wellness and Education Centre at 518 Lake Street. And once again, there's a recommendation here that the City of Nelson provide the letter of support to the Community Health First Co-op capital gaming grant application. Councillor Lochtenberg moved. Councillor Anderson second. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favour? Carried. Thanks very much. Okay. Nelson Nordic Ski Club has requested a letter of support from the City of Nelson with regards to capital gaming grant application. The hopes that the grant will provide a portion of funding need to purchase a new grooming machine. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Page, Councillor Renwick, second. Questions or comments? We have a
Comment through the chair. I'm wondering if this is the kind of thing we should be directing to Rec.
well, we could, but I think there's a fair bit of value in a letter of support coming from the city, but you could add one from the Rec Commission as well. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
So,
if you wish.
if I may, through the chair. So just to keep in mind that what happens is that they could come to the Rec Commission, but we're a commission. It's just like we have here in the city commissions and advisory groups and whatever, and it has to then still flow back. So what we do is that we could at Rec Commission, it gets really convoluted. So we could say that we want to approve that. It's going to then have to come through the minutes, through something that actually comes like this to the board. Then it actually comes from the board of the RDCK. So they could be asking directly from the board, because if it's just the timing of it, I guess, is my
Yeah, I
thought.
certainly
Is it,
wouldn't wanna
you know, you
hold this
have it.
one.
We have a meeting every 2 months, and then depending on when our meeting is, it doesn't get to that board meeting. It gets to the board meeting the month after that, and then you're getting your letter of support 4 months later. One thing about when these are asked for here, the turnaround once we approve it is basically this letter could be written tomorrow. So yes, could it go to the rec commission? I think it's also sometimes a time issue. So your point is well taken, but just the process there is such that the rec commission doesn't really write letters of support. That always has to flow back to the RD main table to have that work done. So.
And that's never a bad thing either. So, you know, it's a bit of a heads up for those in the public that want letters of support. It's never a bad thing to be timely on those, so they could go, as an example, to the rec commission, to the board directors of regional district, and therefore you have 20 more people supporting your endeavor. So it's a good idea, but it has to be timed just right to get them under the wire for their granting.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried, thanks very much. The next item is a development variance permit application for 746 Highway 3A. The development service has received an application to vary a bylaw 3199/2013 for the construction of a garage. Variance is required to increase the allowable height of the accessory building from 4.5 to 6.1 meters. And there's a
Small building.
small building. And there's a very comprehensive staff report attached to your document. And there is a recommendation. And the recommendation from Development Services is that the application for a development variance permit to vary the requirements of zoning bylaw 3199 from 2013 to allow for the construction of an accessory building be approved for District Lot 372, Kootenay District Parcel Z, EXCPCL 1 REFPL 712011 746 Highway 3A as follows.
I'd move the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
You probably don't have to read all that, but if you didn't, somebody would say you should have read out the whole motion. Are there any questions or comments?
I just had
Councillor
one question.
Morrison?
Thank you. I just have one question through the chair to staff. I'm looking at the color diagram where you've sort of dropped the arrow in approximate location of garage. And when I look at it there, I'm thinking that's coming off of the highway. And, you know, it just strikes me in my mind that Modi hates it when you put a driveway on their land and needs a lot of approval. And then I look down further at the drawing and it looks like maybe that garage is going to be even set further to the east of the property so they can come off the frontage road. I just hope that when we're having discussions with them, because it's our sort of zoning, is that they aren't plunking their garage such that they're going to drive off the highway.
No, that's correct. There is an existing access that runs parallel to the highway, and so that's their point of access for this new lot.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they will be getting right off. It's just that, like I say, the color diagram looks like they're coming right off the highway. And
Yeah.
I didn't really think.
No, that was meant to be very approximate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just I read it. Just,
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Councillor Page.
You mentioned here in the complementary streetscape neighboring section that the consideration that this wasn't going to affect the streetscape or the neighborhood very much because of the size of the lot being rather large.
Yeah.
Is there an awareness if they're then going ahead and doing subdivisions? Does that change like that? As far as I understand, that lot's getting broken up fairly significantly.
Yeah. So basically, 2 lots at the end of it will be subdivided. So right now, that property is being we're evaluating the building permit on the lot that's currently subdivided for them. So it's just a matter of process for them to have an official lot. But yeah, it's going to be a very large lot compared to a traditional lot in Nelson. So yeah, so that is taken into account the overall fabric of that area.
Any further questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much. Okay, onward and upward is the amendment to the official community plan, development permit area number 3, off-street parking and landscape bylaw. And the bylaw notice enforcement bylaw to better address wildfire risks. The third reading and adoption of the OCP bylaw amendment number 3458, 2019, and the third reading of the off-street parking and landscape bylaw amendment number 3459, 2019, and the bylaw notice enforcement bylaw 3457, 2019. And there's a full staff report attached, folks, and there's several motions we have to pass here. We had the public hearing on this, and we're ready to move each one of them if you're prepared. Councillor Lochtenberg moves the official community plan amendment development permit area 3 wildfire interface amendment bylaw number 3458 2019 be read a third time by title only. Second by Councillor Page. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. That's number 1 gone. Number 2, that the official community plan amendment development permit area 3 wildfire interface amendments bylaw number 3458 2019 be finally adopted. Moved by Councillor Renwick, second by Councillor Woodward. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. And the off-street parking and landscape amendment citywide planting restrictions bylaw number 3459 2019 be read a third time by title only. Moved by Councillor Renwick, second by Councillor Page. Questions, comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And 4, last but not least, that the Corporation of the City of Nelson bylaw notice enforcement bylaw amendment bylaw number 3457 2019 be read a third time by title only. Moved by Councillor Morrison, second by Councillor Anderson. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Got a question, Councillor Pete?
No.
All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much. Good. Thank you. Okay, next one is the building bylaw adoption. And that's the proposed building bylaw number 3456 2019 bylaw enforcement bylaw number 3465 adoption of the proposed bylaw. And the recommendation is, there are 2 here to take, and that the Corporation of the City of Nelson building bylaw number 3456 2019 be finally adopted.
Moved.
Councillor Morrison and Councillor Renwick, questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. So just so the public knows, we've been through this, and this is the final adoption of these bylaws. So, and number 2, that the Corporation of the City of Nelson bylaw notice enforcement bylaw amendment 3465 2019 be finally adopted.
Moved.
Moved by Councillor Morrison, second by Councillor Woodward. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much. Okay. Once again, these are bylaws that we've gone through at previous meetings and are now up for final adoption. And the next one up is the Fibre Amendment Bylaws, adoption of the Fibre Amendment Bylaws. And there are 2 recommendations: that the Corporation of the City of Nelson Optical Fibre Service Amendment Bylaw number 3460 2019 be finally adopted. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Lochtenberg, sorry?
I have a question.
Well,
Okay,
let's
so
move.
you're moving and you're second and you're going to have a question. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just noticed in the report, and I actually had that highlighted when we saw it for the first time, and I somehow missed it. But just it says cost and budget impact, and it says not applicable at this time, but it is about changing the fees. And so I was just wondering why that was presented like that.
Colin, right up here.
Yeah, it's Colin's fault.
Yeah.
I guess that our goal at this stage, obviously reducing the fees versus what they are now,
Yeah.
will reduce those customers' fees. Our goal with these fee changes is actually to grow the service, and our belief based on our service providers is that they feel that they can provide a cost-competitive service. Again, we have a niche target market that we're looking at. We're not looking at just someone that needs internet service. We're looking at high-end users, such as our agreements with the school district, the RD, etc., or those that are looking for a full comprehensive package from a service provider, whether that's a phone system, backup system, all those components. So that's the service providers that we're working with, is to be able to deliver that cost effectively to our business community that needs that level of service. And like I said, certainly from our discussions with the service providers, they feel with these changes that we're making there can grow that and make this revenue neutral, or hopefully even and grow it over time.
Thank you for your question. Any further questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. That's number 1 out of the way. So number 2 is, that the Corporation of the City of Nelson Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 3461 for 2019 be finally adopted. Councillor Anderson and Councillor Page. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Now for the fun part. The Mural Festival.
There she was.
We're having a little snooze there or what? Okay, so at a regular meeting held on September the 4th, 2018, Council approved $25,000 towards the Nelson District Arts Council 2019 Nelson International Mural Festival. As part of the festival, Nelson District Arts Council is proposing 4 murals to be installed upon city-owned properties and retaining walls. And I've been keeping track of this, and it looks fantastic. Anyway, did you want to throw a bit of light on the subject? If need be, does council want to hear any updates from? No? You're okay? You want to deal with the resolution?
Well, I think we'll do them one at a time.
Yeah,
Can we
one at a
ask-
time,
ask
yeah.
for division. So, but I did have just a general question, and because Ms. Black is in the audience, perhaps she can answer. I'm just curious, and I was going to send this to staff, so through the chair. I thought we were painting the outside of this building with a mural. And I'm wondering,
Different project.
Different project.
okay,
we
so
cannot
she doesn't
talk
want to
about
answer that question. And so now that question's been answered, I'm just looking at 3 and 4. We're painting the east-facing wall. I'm hoping that we're giving at least each artist a week on the east-facing wall of the city parkade.
So it's not the full, totally, it's not the full portion of the wall, but yes, everyone has a minimum of 7 days for most pieces. So yes. Also giant lifts. We've talked to Ryan Martin. He's completely approved everything. So we're going to be moving. He has like a grate that's kind of connected to the parkade. So he's going to move all that for us in his grease trap. And yeah, we're all dialed to make that happen. But yes, everyone has plenty of time.
But I meant like we're approving here that uses the east-facing wall of the city parkade for one artist, and then the east-facing wall of the city parkade for another artist.
Pictures that clarify which portions of the wall they are.
So they're not painting on top of each other. That was my joke.
I'm sorry.
That each artist would get a week before they got painted over.
No, they're not going to paint over top. It's going to be one on each portion of the beige
Okay,
piece.
I was trying to figure that out about the beige portions when I was reading through the proceeding. Thank you.
That council approved the use of the Vernon Park Morgan retaining wall for the 2019 Mural Festival. Councillor Morrison, Councillor Woodward. Questions or comments? All in favor? Thank you. Number 2, that the
Second one.
council
Edgewood.
approved the use of the Edgewood Cedar Street retaining wall for 2019 Mural Fest. Councillor Morrison, second by Councillor Page. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much. And number 3,
I'll move that now that I know that they're getting fair time.
that council approved the use of the east-facing wall of the city parkade for the purpose of mural by artist Sheldon Pierre-Louis for the 2019 Mural Festival. Councillor Woodward, Councillor Page, all in favour? Carried, thank you. And 4, that council approved the use of the east-facing wall of the city parkade for the proposed mural by Alexander Forks, is that what that says?
Fox.
Fox?
Yeah.
Okay, for the 2019 Euro Festival, contingent on the Cultural Development Committee approval of the proposed design. So you have still a bit of work to do on that.
It's all organized. We just need to approve it on Wednesday.
So we need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Renwick, Councillor Woodward. Questions or comments? All in favor? Thank you. Done.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay. Correspondence. So we have a number of items here. We have information items from the Economic Development Commission, Public Library, et cetera, et cetera. Does anybody want to pull any of those out of this package? And any questions on them? Hearing none, move receipt. Oh,
Can I have,
Councillor Page?
is this a good place to ask a question about the library? There was a request coming out of the library to look at the internet speed for the public. And I was wondering if that had made any,
Has that gone through Joanna or Allison, or who's requesting?
I think Tracy's made a request to corporate services, but that's been a while now.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Okay.
I'm not aware of it.
Thank you. Move receipt to that package. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Page. All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much. Reports. Financial Department, building permit stats. Anything you wanted to identify here, Councillor Woodward?
I just some statement. Again, when I look at
Good,
these,
yeah.
I'm just amazed at how many people work, different organizations work for the city, and how great that is in the sense that we we really support our community. So, statement.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor
Lots of questions.
Page.
Colin, I was wondering, when we were going through this list here, there's a link for the paying of the MasterCard bills, and how are we capturing the expenses within the MasterCard in the same list of accounts payable, or does that just get rolled up inside that $34,000?
Well, I would think that we do kind of a combination, especially because we have to track everything for the SOFA report.
Yeah.
So again, one will be the fact that we have to pay MasterCard
Right.
as far as that payable piece. As far as the other ones there, like again for Air Canada, I did notice it on the top, and I was like, I didn't know whether or not that's sort of whether it's a double count or not. Or
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
It's like, are we capturing?
And I would think not, but that's certainly something that I can check on.
Okay. Thanks.
Councillor Renwick.
Which ones did you?
You want to know
I'll
what-
apologize
you
to
wanna know what
I'll
line-
apologize to Colin ahead of time. I'm not supposed to do this, but I just have a question as to we're paying money to the CPR.
Sorry, to CPR?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we have a few different kind of lease type arrangements and or different fees that we need to pay them, whether it's crossings and the thing in the community. So we have a few different arrangements with them that we need to pay them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Receipt. Thank you. Action items. And once again, Council, if you wanted to have any questions about the list of action items that are there, and it never seems to get short. Always something to do. Any questions or comments?
So there are
Councillor Woodward.
there are a few items like the downtown market that's been dealt with.
Not the consultant. Not the consultation.
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay. And the Heritage Street light replacement? Haven't we worked through that?
So again, Councillor Woodward, there was council did have the report that was given and the light was chosen. So again, the next step from there would be timing of buying the light.
Okay.
RFP on who would install the light, and that's still a ways to go. We have a significant amount in the budget that we have passed for being able to do that, but there certainly will be some discussion about how that will roll out and when.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Morrison?
I just have a question, and I see that this has been assigned, and that's the Nelson Kootenai Lake Tourism and Others, the Sports Ambassador Program. And I see that the Deputy Corporate Officer is looking at that, and I'm just wondering if on the timeline, if there's a chance that that position might have come back for further discussion to council, and whether or not we could be announcing a sports ambassador at the same time that we do the cultural ambassador for 2020.
Through the mayor, we can assign that to, we can give it a timeline so that it would be ready for the December announcement.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Any further questions on the list, folks? Okay, somebody move a seat, please. Councillor Page, Councillor Woodward, all in favour? Carried. Thanks very much. Late items. Councillor Lochtenberg.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. So I have a motion for us, which I'll just read out now. So whereas plastics has been identified as a serious threat to ocean health, and through the involuntary consumption of microplastics, a harm to all life, and whereas the production of plastics contributes to global warming, and whereas plastics add significant waste to our landfills and significant cost in their disposal, and whereas plastics recycling is inefficient and often ineffective in reducing waste and greenhouse gases, and whereas council believes that Nelson residents and businesses want to do everything they can to help the environment and reduce waste, be it resolved that council write an open letter to all Nelson and area businesses requesting a voluntary end to the distribution of single-use plastics, and further that council declares October to be Plastics Free Month and work with the Chamber of Commerce and other local groups to promote it.
Seconder. Councillor Woodward. Any questions or comments? Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. In regards to this motion, I'm not adverse to it, but I do have a bit of concern about the fact that we sort of had a little bit of discussion about whether or not this was going to take any staff time, and I do have to say I think it will. And my bigger question is I'm not foolish about what a single-use plastic is, but I'm sure there's many things that I don't recognize as a single-use plastic. So in my mind, there is some work, I think, in terms of what are we looking at? Are we looking at every single-use plastic? So are you looking at Q-tips, or are we just looking at plastic bags or bread bags? Or, to me, there's a lot of education that has to go into this, and I think somebody kind of has to do that, and so it's trying to size it. I think for me it has to be scaled. I don't see the scale in the concept there. I love the idea that we would partner with the Chamber of Commerce. So in my mind, I'm not too sure that even we need to have the first be it resolved, that we could just look at thinking about having a declaration of a plastic-free month, working with the Chamber, as opposed to the council writing a letter to all businesses, because I would imagine that should actually be the role of the Chamber, and it actually being their, I'd like to see this to be their baby, for lack of a better way to say it, is that so that they're the driver, and that they can have, and hopefully we'll have the logo, so we'll have the Chamber logo and the City of Nelson logo, so that people know, and perhaps the Chamber would go out of their way and actually maybe send it out or to some of the other business licenses that we have, say, that aren't Chamber members, right? So I do see a little bit of work having to go into this. So I don't know whether I want to ask for referral. I definitely think I want to get rid of the second, the first, therefore the be it resolved after the whereases. But I really am concerned about what are we calling a single-use plastic? And we've had this discussion before where we kind of took single-use plastics off of our list of to-dos, and now it's kind of come back. But it is a question to me, because I'd have to break it to my husband that Q-tips might have to disappear out of our bathroom.
There's alternatives.
And I know that there's alternatives, but I mean, when you think about what a single-use plastic is, I think that just runs the gamut in people's minds. And I think we need to be careful and perhaps selective, and maybe even work with the chamber if we're going out to businesses. Maybe there's products that business, like the focus becomes, what are businesses using that I also might be using in my home that will be my first step in reducing plastics.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Councillor Anderson.
I think, well, I'll let, it's his motion, I'll let him respond, and then I'd like to speak after.
Is that okay? Through the chair?
Yeah.
I hear you. If you'd like to make a friendly amendment, I think that sounds fine about striking out that first be it resolved and on the open letter. I agree that I think if the chamber would take the lead on this, that would be better. It would, one, they have more at stake as businesses, and two, Councillor Renwick and I did make a presentation to the chamber and got a really positive reception. So, and I have a feeling that they would be supportive of that. So I would totally support that amendment.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was the one that originally struck the plastic ban from our strategic plan, and that was because your question of what is a single-use plastic is so huge. And generally, when we're looking at plastic bans, it happens to be the smaller organizations that have a harder time, and the larger corporations that are mass-producing things have a far easier time. And so the reason why I support a voluntary measure is that it rather than us being punitive as a city, it empowers the businesses. And there's already a ton of businesses that are really focused on that and are doing a lot. And I've also heard some of the business leaders in our community talking about wanting to even potentially do like a buying co-op. So things like, instead of having plastic straws, they'd be doing bulk purchases of like pasta straws and things like that. And so rather than having Bylaw trying to go out there and getting a phone call that they received a plastic fork somewhere, that this instead is a way for all of us to be more conscious about our plastic use, because it is a huge issue and there are great alternatives to things like Q-tips out there. So I think by putting that sort of at the forefront of our business community, that's also going to trickle down to the rest of the community. And so, yeah, I absolutely support this. So.
Screwdrivers instead of Q-tips.
That's right.
Ends.
Ends, yeah.
Ends.
Finger.
Yeah.
Councillor Woodward.
The old washcloth.
I just wanted to say that I think, getting this up on deck to have this in people's mind is really, really positive. And I also think on an economic point of view, it ripples out, because if businesses aren't constantly using plastics and throwing them away, and then the city and the regional district is dealing with all the plastic, I mean, it's good for everybody to try to tamp this down a bit, all this use. So I think just on economics, it's really great. But also, just having that in your mind when you go to the store and be like, do I have to do this? Maybe not. And just getting that going is really positive.
Councillor Renwick.
Thank you. I do concur with Councillor Morrison, and I think if we let the chamber take the lead and let them do the heavy lifting, if you will, they do have a lot more at stake. I know their database does include businesses that are not chamber members. They have a lot more than that, and so if we can make a friendly amendment, I mean, we were well received the night that Rick actually presented, and they were quite excited about taking the lead on this. So I think we can work with them and take some of the weight off of our staff and let them deal with it and work together with them. And so if we can make a friendly amendment, that'd be great. Yeah.
So then what I'm hearing here is,
Strike the first
correct me if I'm
whereas.
wrong, pardon?
Strike the first be it resolved.
Right. Be resolved that council write an open letter, so that would be,
So it'd
or
be,
just strike it completely?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, and for the council declare October, so that stays in?
so it would be it resolved that council declares October to be a plastic-free month and work with the Chamber of Commerce and other local groups to promote it.
Okay with that?
Yep.
And can I just add from the city staff on this? Actually, just by happen chance, I happened to be listening to something on CBC when I was driving down to, when I was pedaling my bike down to, when I was driving down to work one day, and it was a lady that has gone basically plastic free. So I did ask our staff is, you know, can we take leadership on this and see if we can manage through a month of not using plastics as an organization, and I think we will still do that. And we've talked about maybe challenging other either organizations or local governments to try to do the same thing. And unless you live the walk, it's kind of hard to really recognize what you can do or what those challenges are. And I think it would be a good exercise for us as a municipality is see how we can get along. You know, and we're just talking this office, you know, obviously once you start getting Public Works and Nelson Hydro and others that, you know,
a great
really,
idea to get
really,
everyone involved, Kevin.
yeah, it really complicates things. So I think we want to walk before we run. So that's what we'll work to do here as your administrative office here.
It's not going to be easy, boys and girls.
Yeah,
You
no.
have to take that straw away from the mayor when he walks in.
And then I'd recommend as part of our October,
Go ahead.
as part of the October Plastics Month, that we as a council take up the challenge that staff has thrown down and collect all the plastic we use for the month, and we'll do a plastics off.
Inventory.
See who's done the least. Cool.
In our house, you mean?
So
In our
buy all
house?
your plastics now.
All your personal.
I'll be away for part of October. Okay, sounds good. So everybody's happy with the amendment, friendly amendment? Okay, so I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Carrie, thanks. You got it all good? Sarah, thank you very much. All right, back to the agenda. I had to switch to the email there to get your wording. And I think we're pretty well done here, are we? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Well, we have to go back in camera, correct?
Yes, I understand.
Wait, oh, sorry.
Motion to adjourn the meeting, please. Moved by Councillor Woodward, second by Councillor Renwick. All in favor? Carried. Whew. Go home now, folks.
Thank you.
Nothing to see here. Move on.
Put a mark on the calendar, somebody.
AC just really kicked in, hey?
Yeah.
We could do this. We will. It'll get faster. You watch. We got Rick down to one notice.
So
motion
just-
at the meeting.